Well, hello and welcome to Management 605 Leadership Dynamics. I hope you're excited to get this course underway, although if you're as excited as I am, that would probably be pretty weird. But what I'd like to do in this video is just provide you with whatever information I can to help you get whatever it is you want to get out of this course. And hopefully you're interested in getting a good grade. So we'll walk through some of the assessment activities and I'll try to offer some advice for maximizing your points along the way. But more than that, I hope that you all are intrinsically motivated in developing your leadership potential. And so we'll talk about the different opportunities, both built within the structure of the course, but also beyond the course itself, that I think could really help you maximize your leadership development. So here we have the course homepage, and what I'd like to do is walk you through some of the important elements of this course homepage and just make sure that you're familiar with where you need to be going and what you need to be doing within this page itself. Off the bat, I want to note that we have about 50 people enrolled in this course this semester, and so what I've done is split everybody up into two separate sections. The sections are completely identical. They'll run parallel to one another. The only difference being I didn't want 50 different voices being thrown in those participation discussion boards. And so it'll be a little bit easier for us to have more intimate conversations with fewer people involved this way. What you can see here is when you log into the course page, it should bring you here to the front page. And at the very top of the front page, I'll keep the most recent announcements, whatever's most currently going on within the semester. The main way that I communicate throughout the semester is through email. And so you'll want to make sure that you get into the routine of checking that odu.edu email address. But any email announcement that I send will also be posted here on the class website, with the most recent one being here in the front page. Just to avoid this page getting overly cluttered, I'll take all of the old announcements and move them to this archived announcement link on the toolbar here. So if you haven't logged in a couple of days, or if you want to be reminded of something that was posted a week ago or 2 weeks ago, you can always track down those old announcements by going to this archived announcement page. Sometimes in your web page, you might notice that this toolbar is hidden and it looks something like this. And if that's the case, you'll want to try to find that arrow to extend this toolbar, because a lot of important links for navigating the page are contained in this toolbar. And so what I'll do is I'll just go down the list here, try not to spend too much time on things that we'll touch on later on in the semester. But again, just try to give you the big picture idea of what's going on here. You can see this faculty contact information link provides some ways to get in contact with me. Most notably, the easiest way to contact me is through email, through this rklinger@odu email address. I also have a phone number here in case you need to call or text. Generally, if there's some sort of emergency, like an exam crashes or you're unable to submit an assignment right before the deadline, that's probably the best way of contacting me right away. And then the other way that you can contact me is through this Ask the Instructor discussion board. What I would suggest is if you have a personal question that you want to be just handled between you and I, email is probably the most efficient way. But if you have a question that you think other students are also dealing with, this Ask the Instructor discussion board is a great way for me to push the response out to everybody else. Both operate the same way, both generate an email notification that gets sent directly to me. So one isn't going to increase the likelihood that I respond any faster. It's just a matter of whether the communication is sort of personal or more general. You can see a link to the syllabus tab, and what I would strongly recommend is that everybody, as soon as possible, read through the syllabus, because this syllabus provides all of the really important information about how the grade is calculated and what the different assignments are. What you'll notice when you work through the syllabus is that there are really 4 grading components. There's 2 exams, there are participation opportunities. So throughout the semester, you'll have opportunities to participate on the discussion board or participate through self-assessment surveys or whatever it may be, and you can earn points that way. And then there are 2 sort of class papers that we'll talk about in a second, and again, provide more information as we get closer to those deadlines. You can see here there's this schedule link, which just provides a quick schedule of when everything is due. and this calendar format just to kind of get you a sense of what the routine of the semester looks like. And you can see that routine is basically every Tuesday a new module opens, and you have about a week to work through that module. For the first 2 weeks, the modules close on Sunday, and so you'll have between Tuesday and Sunday to work through all of the materials, participate as much as you can to earn those participation points, and then the following Tuesday, the next module opens. We've got exam 1 here is June 2nd, and that exam is open until Saturday, June 6th. So the exam window is going to be open for 5 days. What you'll notice after the first exam is that then you have a little bit more time to work on those modules. So instead of those modules closing on the first Sunday, the modules actually extend until the following Saturday. And the main reason for this is basically because you have a module that's open during an exam. I wanted to give you some extra time. And also, as we get towards the end of the semester, there's going to be some people who really want to just work ahead and attack things as early as possible, and other people who want as much time as possible. And so by changing these due dates on the second half of the class, it just gives you a little bit more opportunity to manage your time according to your own personal schedule. Other than those modules opening and closing and the 2 exams, here we have one 5-day exam window in the beginning of June and another 5-day exam window at the end of June. I mentioned before there are 2 papers that are due. One is due about halfway through the semester on June 8th, and it's this crisis leadership plan, and the other is due at the very end of the semester. I do want to notice, if you look at the schedule, there's a lot of sort of backloaded assignments. I wanted to give you as much time as possible to get your work done, and so a lot of the assignments, including exam 2, the term paper, and the last day to participate, are on the last possible day of class, right? The advantage of that is that you have the maximum amount of time to get this stuff done. The disadvantage is if you don't manage that time wisely, you can become very overwhelmed in trying to handle all 3 of these assignments to do at the same time. So just make sure you're really planning your schedule out and not waiting until too late to get started on these 3 activities. Going back up to our left-hand toolbar, and I'll walk back to the front page here. We can see there are 2 different ways to access the module material, which is where you'll spend the vast majority of this semester. One is on the front page itself, so you have each of the modules linked on the front page. And the second is in this left-hand toolbar. You'll have each of the modules linked in the left-hand toolbar. Let's start with Module 0. This is just a course introduction. If you're watching this video, you've already navigated to this point and got to the course introduction. But I wanted to note that there's also this discussion board opportunity to introduce yourself to the class. And so when you get a chance, please go ahead and post on this discussion board. Introduce yourself to myself. I'm looking forward to reading your introductions. And also, I think it'd be a good way to sort of break the ice in terms of participating and communicating with each other in the class. Module 1 is the first module that we're working on, and again, you can see that it's contained within this learning module. And so you can see that there are 11 different activities that you'll need to work through, and they're presented in a pretty linear order, and so it's probably best to just start with the first one and work your way all the way down. But I don't expect you to complete all 11 at one time. And so if you take a break and then come back a day later or 2 days later, you could skip right to whatever activity you want to work on or wherever you left off. There's a lot of different types of activities. Some are just simple descriptions and readings. Others are discussion boards where you're asked to respond to a specific prompt. Let's see, there are some videos. So this one here is a video that you'll watch, and again, have an opportunity to respond based on what you found particularly interesting or what you disagreed with in the video. Really, whatever you can think of to create a virtual conversation is what I'm really interested in. And then there are also some reading assignments. We don't have a textbook, but in every module, there's going to be, pretty much a chapter's worth of reading spread across websites, Harvard Business Review cases, PDF files, really whatever I can find to get that content across to you. The last thing I want to point out is at the end of each module is a list of study questions. And these study questions are what you're going to want to be prepared to answer when it comes time for that exam. So basically, if you work through the modules and you understand these study questions at a really intimate level, then when you start that exam, there should be no surprises and everything should be fairly smooth sailing. So that's how the modules work. If we scan down on the left-hand toolbar over here, we see exams and exam resources. I'll click on that. And what you can see is that there are 2 exams. There's one folder for each exam, and there's some information about when the exam opens and when it closes. We'll just click on this first exam here. And you can see a couple of different resources and important things to think about. The first is a discussion board. As you work through those study questions or as it gets closer to that exam, if you have any questions, whether it's a question about the general layout of the exam or a question about the content within the exam, there's this discussion board, and it's a great opportunity for you to ask your question to me and have me answer that question and distribute that information to everybody else. So hopefully when that exam window opens or whenever it is that you decide to start that exam, there are absolutely no surprises, because any issues that you had before the exam, you've clarified through this exam discussion board. You can see there are some general tips about how to do well on the exam. And hopefully, as we get closer to this first exam, I'll share some more information about these or redirect you to these. And then there's the folder where the exams are actually going to be linked up. So when the exam is open, within this folder, you'll find the links to begin the exam. I've divided the exam into 3 sections, just so that it's not so overwhelming that you're sitting in front of a computer for so long. So there are 3 one-hour sections. You don't have to take the sections right at the same time. So you might take part 1 and then wait 2 days and take part 2, and then wait 2 days and take part 3, or you might get them all out of the way at the same time. It's however you want to manage your time. But once you start an exam, you have 60 minutes to complete that exam. So it's really important that you're prepared before you click on that exam to open it. The exams are unproctored. We're not using any of that creepy video proctoring stuff. And so I won't be able to tell whether you use any resources or notes or whatever, but they are timed, and the time is set such that if you're prepared and you fully understand the information, you should have no problem answering the questions within that time allotment. But if you're not prepared and you take on the strategy of, okay, I'm going to start the exam, read the first question, and then go back and try to learn the answer to the question on the fly, you're going to run out of time. So don't get lured into a false sense of security because this is an unproctored exam. You really want to make sure that you're prepared for the exam before you start. That being said, looking at the past performance, the exams are perfectly doable, right? There are a lot of students that do really well on the exams, and then there are students that struggle, again, I think mainly because they start that exam without fully being prepared. Other things to point out here, there are the 2 papers. I'm going to switch to the term paper, but the crisis leadership paper sort of follows the same exact routine. And that is, there is some directions, and the directions tell you exactly what I'm looking for within that paper. To submit your paper, you click right on the link here. And the last thing I wanted to point out is that there is this view rubric button. And when you view that rubric, you'll see exactly how I'm grading your term paper and what points are being allocated to what sort of categories. And so I think it's a really good idea to strategically be aware of that rubric before you start the paper and also before you submit the paper. I think the best advice I can give you is, once you've got that paper sort of in that final draft format, look at that rubric, self-evaluate your paper, and if there's anything that you would deduct yourself on, chances are I would as well. But if you think that you've handled all of the elements of the rubric satisfactorily, chances are I will as well. Let's see, then the last thing is you see this grade book here, and this is when we post, when you submit assignments and those assignments are evaluated, you can check on your grades here. You'll also be able to check on feedback and rubric responses here as well. So whenever I grade an exam or a term paper, I promise you I will give you detailed feedback about how you did, and if any points are deducted, where those deductions came from. And the way that you'll access that detailed feedback is through this My Grades link. Last thing I want to point out, if we go on the front page here, um, I'll always have a list of the most current tasks. So whatever is currently you should currently be working on will be displayed right here on the front page. And so let's just go through the first assignment. The first major deadline is this Sunday, May 24th. With the 6-week semester, we have to jump right into this. So this is not a ton of work, but it is a substantial amount of work, or I would say a normal load of work right off of the bat. So it's probably best to attack this right away. This Sunday, by May 24th, you have two general things that you should complete. The first is you should work through all of the Module 0 or course introduction information, which is watch this video, read the syllabus, and then introduce yourself on that class introductions discussion board. And the second thing, the thing that's probably going to be more time consuming, is you'll work through Module 1. Module 1, the theme is what is a leader? And the main idea of this module is to just challenge us to think about leadership in maybe a broader way or a more diverse way than we normally think about it. And so I showed you what Module 1 looked like in terms of those 11 activities. You'll want to make your way through those 11 activities. So make sure you watch all the videos, make sure you read all the readings, and make sure you respond to all the discussion boards before the end of the day on Sunday, May 24th. Here you can see I just also have those long-term assignments, those assignments that are also due, not anytime soon, but are going to take time management to complete in a orderly fashion, I guess. And so just to kind of remind you of those, I also have those listed here. If I scan to the very bottom of the front page, supplemental resources is a folder. Nothing in this folder you'll be responsible for any exams or term paper assignments or anything like that. But as the semester progresses, if a conversation leads to any opportunities to go beyond what is contained within this course, I'll throw any supplemental resources within this folder here. And then finally, throughout the semester, there's going to be opportunities for Zoom meetings, whether those are office hours or just open-ended conversations, or whether we can get some guest speakers. It's been kind of difficult to schedule guest speakers, and we've had some people back out because of the current situation that we're in. But if we can get some guest speakers to come and talk to the class, I'll have the links to access the Zoom meetings in this spot on the front page, and I'll always try to record those conversations and post those recordings for those of you who your schedule doesn't permit you being live but still want to keep up with the information. Okay, that's it. Remember, we've got a lot of quite a few things due on this upcoming Sunday, and so make your way through the Module 0 and Module 1, and if you have any questions or comments or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. Well, thank you so much.